Social media is in a fury regarding this thing. Both Reddit, Facebook, YouTube. I think everything besides Twitter. Yes, like X is not banning the topic. It is marking it as sensitive content, but seems to be dangerous to be discussing it. So I will have to do my best in order to discuss it in a way that it is appropriate. It is very difficult to know how to discuss it because there's no guidelines for it. I mean, I would think that what Steven Crowder did is journalisming. Like he's journalisming. But apparently not, you know? Apparently you can't journalisming about that. So, before we begin, I should read the super chat from Mr. Terry, who says that, hi, my name is Klaus Schwab. This is funding to add to game journalist mode to Succubus game. First of all, Mr. Klaus Schwab would give me more than $5. But actually it doesn't even work like that. They don't just give you, like, free cash. Basically, if you want to make a game, right, a AAA game, and let's say that it costs $1 million to make, like Skullgirls, right? One of the ways you can go around it is to crowdfund. So you go to the market and you're like, I'm making this game, please give me money and I'll do what you guys want me to make. The other way is to make a loan, right? So you go to the bank and you get $1 million. Now the problem is, like, will the bank give it to you, right? And let's say if yes, it's like, how much do you need to pay back? So imagine you get $1 million, you have to pay 10% back, that's $100,000. But the ESG loans, they give them based on different criterias, and they also ask for less in exchange, right? Like maybe they ask just 5% or 2%. That's why companies go after ESG, because it's very tempting. The only problem is that if you get a normal loan, hello Vinyl, welcome to the chat. Vinyl, are you from the Kingdom of the Rising Sun? But anyway, right, so as I was saying, ESG loans, when you get them, they get control over your product. Now some loans can also get control over your product because the bank wants to know that you're profitable. So they will say, all right, well, this is like the statistics that you need to beat in order for us to give you the loan. But the ESG don't care about profitability. They care about like how environment sustainable you are. They care about those things. Yeah, it's low interest rate, has to be diverse, and chances are you may get it even if like you can't pay it back. Sort of, kind of. Right? Like their criteria is it going to be profitable? Their criteria is it going to be sustainable? And sustainability and profitability doesn't necessarily mix. That's why companies get ESG loans. So now you know. And this is also why like some company like Skullgirls can decide, oh, so what we did up until now is very problematic. We showed Ushikushi waifu Pantsu, and because of that we have to censor it, we have to remove it. Our community doesn't know anything. And the reason that they do this is because they want to apply for a loan, right? So like when they apply for an ESG loan, it has someone that looks into your company and makes decisions whether you get it or not. Now take into account that the people that are high up, like the CEOs and other people, like they can have various clauses, right? So like you get the loan, you have to pay it back, but like if you file for bankruptcy, you don't really. And the CEO is the one that can have a golden parachute or something, right? So the company goes bankrupt, no one buys the product, but the CEO gets like a big fat check. So he managed to make money in a legal way, even though like he knew that the company isn't going to sell the new product. Yeah, so anyway, Steven Crowder has done a naughty, he has done journalisming. So we're going to talk about it. He also got a community guideline strike. We're going to read from the Daily Dot. A lot of people from the Daily Mail, not the Daily Mail, what was the name of the Daily Caller, I think, are also upset on Steven Crowder because I guess like they're still having beef between each other, right? Like Steven is going his own way and he had the drama with Ben Shapiro's company, so it's not really surprising. But the topic is surprising. So what Steven Crowder did, like, I think it was last year or this year, I forgot, because it's in America. Look, I try to keep up with most of the news, but sometimes when you keep up with multiple countries and you don't live there, it's a little bit more difficult. But there was a mass shooter in the United States. And it was a very vile mass shooting in particular because it targeted little kids. Right? So all mass shootings are vile, but this one was particularly so. And the person was transgender as well. It's important to mention because the ideology that this person was espousing seems to have been a cause, right, into the shooting. Now, the manifesto has been kept secret for over a year. And Steven Crowder managed to get 3 pages and show them to the public. And what the public saw was very good. It was basically like the manifesto isn't like something that a person can come up with themselves by sitting in a room. It's something that a person can get from going to some American universities. Like actual things that you see in the mainstream media, in the newspapers, ways of thinking that have been decried by university professors that never get cancelled. And same university professors that are very worried about limiting harm and making sure that phrases such as, safe spaces and all these things. Yeah, the same professors, apparently, their ideas entered into this person's head. And they started believing in concepts like white fragility and all this other nonsense. And this seems to be what motivated the person to commit the vile act. Now the problem is that the media is horrified at what Steven Crowder has done. And apparently the parents, this is the thing that the media is telling us, the parents didn't want the manifesto to leak to the public. So we have to respect the parents' wishes. This is the narrative that's now currently being pushed, right? So you have an individual that commits a criminal act, and the parents of the victims choose that the manifesto from the individual should never see the light of day. Like, it should not be made public, and those are their wishes. My problem with that is that while, of course, you should respect the wishes of the parents, and in some cases, this can be keeping the names of them private or keeping certain information private. Like, that's reasonable. However, this is a matter of public concern. Like, if an ideology that is being spread throughout universities and mainstream media is capable of creating this level of carnage, I do believe that it is of public concern for the people to know so that they can tackle this issue. Like, how can you talk about this? How can you even discuss this if there is no transparency? Hi V, hope things are good. Oh no, but narrative. Well, yeah, apparently Reddit is banning people, like people who are on R conservative. Like, I was even surprised that such a thing even exists. R conservative. People who go on to R conservative notice that discussing this issue led to them getting banned or their message deleted. So they assumed that it's the people running R conservative that are doing the bans. It turns out that it wasn't. Instead, it was the Reddit moderation team itself that was doing the bans. So the mods of the subreddit, they don't have any power in this. And it's basically like, don't talk about the thing. If you happen to know the thing, keep it for yourself. Don't post it by mistake, because the thing is going to get your comments deleted. Yeah, almost anything gets you banned on Reddit. Unironically, it's a cancer website. Hold on, let me tell Mr. Wars. Hold on, just chotomate. Okay. Um, but basically, I will say this. This is not the first time it happened, and I think like this may actually be like a matter of policy that's being enforced consistently. But the problem is I don't agree with the enforcement. Okay, so the idea is that whenever you have someone committing something like this, social media erases their entire presence. It's like the person has never existed. The concept is we do not want copycat criminals, right? So if you have someone committing a shooting, the first thing that you'll notice is that mainstream media removes everything that is about them. Like they will remove their Facebook, they will remove their Instagram, they will remove their Twitter, right? Everything is being scrubbed off the internet. I think like even if you share archives of their thing, it's being scrubbed as well. That's why on 4chan and other places, like the moment they hear that someone committed something, like they try to find out who the person is and they archive everything because they know that it's going to be deleted. But the idea is like we're deleting it, so they're deleting it so that people do not copy the individuals. Okay. I kind of disagree with it because I don't see that happening as much as I see people wanting to learn what causes a person to do that so that they can prevent it in the future. Right? I mean, the media does this all the time. The media always says it's the guns. It's the guns. But it's like, first of all, it's illegal to have a gun in school. It's illegal to murder someone. Right? Like I don't think the person really cares about the laws that much. I mean, I'm a Romanian. I'm not an American. But I assume that if a person has what, has a sick mind that's enough to kill children, I don't think that they care about additional legislation. I think they're already willing to break every single law that there is. Right? So, and not to mention, like, the person that stops the shooter is a police officer with a gun. But, oh, wait, like in America, police officers are evil. Right? So defund the police and all of that. So like, how exactly are people supposed to protect themselves then? Like, you don't want them to have guns. You don't want police officers. So when you have someone that literally doesn't care about the law, like you got some person that's like, I'm going to break every single law imaginable. How do you stop them then? What do you do? I wonder if the feds are telling Google and Reddit to censor this. Well, from what we saw recently, actually, that there's another expose. It's called the Censorship Industrial Complex. And it has been, I think like in the Senate, they were talking about it. But yeah, it does show how the feds and social media works hand in hand. To be honest, like if you look at American history, like American Outlier can probably tell you about this. Most American companies that are large and influential have been working hand in hand with the government or have been aiding the government in some way. So, it's part of like an American tradition, I guess. But still, it wasn't like the phone company was listening to people in the past, right? Like recording all your conversations and shit. That's what the Soviet Union did. I think this is why like people are a little bit more surprised. Like they're not surprised if SpaceX uses its satellites in order to help Ukraine, right? Because Ukraine is considered to be an ally of the United States right now, right? Like people aren't surprised that SpaceX is doing stuff that's helping the US military. However, with that out of the way, people are surprised when social media is censoring things. Why? Because it's the free speech concept that people at least believed it to be sacred. CIA always used to work for corporations. I think the other way around. Conspiracy cat. Bringing back mental asylums would work 10 times better than gun control. Mental asylums exist in other countries. The only problem with mental asylums is this. It acts the same as a prison, right? So, you're being locked somewhere, but unlike a prison, like, for example, if you're locked in a prison, you got to serve 5 years, and you can get out on good behavior, right? But with a mental asylum, if you're diagnosed by a doctor, And trust me, like, corruption exists in the medical industry, in case you guys didn't realize. So if a doctor says that you're mentally ill, like, usually, what does that mean? It means that you're a danger to yourself or others, right? So if you're diagnosed as being a danger to yourself, like, that's even worse if you think about it. At least I can understand, like, why if you're a danger to others, you should be locked up. But, like, if you're a danger to yourself, I believe that people have a right to do whatever they want with their body. You know, it's not, whatever. But there were cases in the past where, okay, a person is a danger to himself, so we need to lock him up in a padded room. You don't know when you get out, right? Like, you don't get visits by lawyers, and even if you did, it's like, okay, well, you didn't do anything illegal. Like, the problem is mental, right? Like, the doctors decided you have a mental illness that makes you a danger to yourself or others. So even if you were to get a lawyer, like, the lawyer can't do shit. So you're sitting there, you know, in a hospital. Sometimes you may not even be able to see your family because the doctor can say visits from your family makes your condition worse. And you don't know when you're getting out, right? So that is why there was a conversation against mental asylums. It's not necessarily that it wouldn't work, or that the concept of we need to keep people that can't live well with others separate, right? Like, that's why we have prisons. It's like people who are criminals are held separate than the people who are law-abiding. If you have someone that's not a criminal but is a danger to himself or others, then we keep him separate. That was the reasoning. However, when you look at the human rights issue, what if the doctor is corrupt? Like, what if you have a doctor that literally wants you to be in prison, right? So he signs a court order that, yeah, you're going to go to a mental asylum. And you go to a mental asylum, and you don't get visits from your family, you don't get visits from your lawyer, like, you pretty much, like, have no rights. Although, theoretically, it's not a legal issue. You're kind of fucked. I mean, this is what the Soviet Union used to do. There's articles on Wikipedia, which is called the institutionalization of mental health. So the Soviets would, like, whenever they had someone important, like an inner party member, you know, like an actual human being that they would consider is worthy of some rights, and they wanted to get rid of him, or they would have a writer that was too famous, too public, and they wanted to get rid of him. The way they would do it wasn't through the court system, because maybe the person genuinely didn't violate anything, right? So what they would do is like, okay, well, let's have a medical examination. They tried this in France with Marine Le Pen. For some time, the press was writing that she's insane. They tried it with Donald Trump. Like, it's a knee-jerk reaction from leftist reactionaries. They're like, okay, well, this person may be insane, right? So now, in France, you don't have, like, the mental asylum thing, right? And you don't have it in the US. But imagine if, like, they would say, yeah, Donald Trump is insane. Like, he's mentally crazy. He's right. So they would do a psych evaluation. Oh, he really is insane. He's a danger to himself or others. Lock him up in an asylum. What's funny, the Buffalo shooter who shot people in New York, the media was quick to release the manifesto, but they didn't fully proofread, and turned out he was a left-wing like maniac, and the media report stopped. There were so many examples of this in the past. The one that I remember was an old man apparently had his face smashed with a brick, and he was in a hospital, right? But like, before he went to the hospital, he managed to say that the attacker told him to go back to where he came from, but he was an American. And the media loved this story, because it was in 2016, it was before the elections. They absolutely loved this story. It's like, look, this is MAGA America. This is what happens under Trump's America. Like, no one is safe. Like, people are just walking the street and they're being attacked. Turns out that the attacker was a black woman. Immediately the story stopped. Like, even the Young Turks was absolutely livid about this. Like, oh my god, like, I saw Cenk Uygur coming out there showing indignation, and, right? But the moment, like, the story added context, and it's like, it's a black woman that did it, nothing. Absolutely not. Like, 100% media silence. Thank you for the £5, free Boguineville, and also subject to change, thank you for the $5. I remember that story. Yeah, like, when you work in the job that I do, and you have to cover stories every day, you remember a lot of stories. and you start noticing interesting patterns that the public calls conspiracy theories, and I call them spoiler alerts. But yeah, it's a famous story actually. Like it was covered everywhere. They were so excited because you get to see, you know, on the face of the journalists when they're talking about it. Like there is a difference, you know, regardless of the words that you say, there is a body language as well. And you can see when a person is upset, you can see when a person is sad, you can see when a person is happy. And the journalists seemed ecstatic when they were talking about that story. Like you can see it on their face, like they were happy. And then when the context came in, was silence. I didn't know if they're happy or not, but yeah. The Young Turks has a narrative but must create the evidence. The Young Turks is such an interesting case study because Anna Kasparian, for instance, she went on and she said that Kyle Rittenhouse is a murderer, and she went on and on and on. Like various segments, Anna Kasparian was like hammering this Rittenhouse guy. And a couple of months ago, when she goes on Stitch, on that show, she's like, yeah, no, like what Kyle did was self-defense. And I'm like, but like, why didn't you have this opinion back then, Anna? Why didn't you have this opinion back then? And it was self-defense. Yes, if a guy, not to mention, like, everyone keeps forgetting that someone pulled a gun on him. Like, it's not even the skateboard thing. Like, someone literally pulled a gun on him. And you get to see how disingenuous the conversation is because you don't have, like, people who are, like, concerned about law-abiding citizens and whatnot. Everyone was asking, why is Kyle bringing a weapon to the protest? But no one was asking, like, why did someone from the protest, like, why did the protester pull the gun on him? So the question should also be, well, okay, why is the protester having a gun? I'm really curious if that gun was brought past state lines as well. Or like, if it's an assault rifle, so you show it, because, like, that's another thing, right? When you bring a gun, at least that's how I'm thinking, I don't know. If I bring a gun and it's like a big rifle, where you can't conceal it, like, everyone sees that you're having it, you're basically trying to avoid violence. You're basically trying to be that intimidating so that no one fucks with you. Does that make sense? Right. But when you have like a handgun that's concealed, isn't that worse? Because that's how I'm thinking. Like, okay, there's a massive riot. There's stores everywhere being looted. But in front of this store, you have like 4 guys wearing bulletproof vests and machine guns. Right? What do I think? I think that no one is going to fuck with that store. I think like people are going, like even the criminals that are like, okay, I want to loot something, and they see that store being defended, they will be like, all right, well, let's go somewhere else because this is not worth it. Yeah, Anna is crossing party lines. I would be absolutely pleased to see Anna go and work for Ben Shapiro. That would be the most hilarious turn of events. In Crimea, after Russia annexed it, people that continued to protest against Russia were locked up in psychiatric hospitals. I didn't know that, but it doesn't surprise me. Like, this is a Russian tactic. And it's very effective and it works. And the thing is like this, right? Like, imagine, put yourself in the following situation, right? Your neighbor or a person that you look up to gets arrested and is placed in a mental institute. And you notice that they can't get out. They can't call lawyers, that you can't see them. Okay, now, if you start listening to what they posted, right, so you read their books, you watch their videos, you get a warning, and it's implied, it's like, look, that person was crazy. Like, okay, perfect example. Imagine this, right, like, Steven Crowder gets placed in a mental asylum. Like, after this, you know, they find out, and this is how it would have happened in the Soviet Union. Like, perfect example, Steven Crowder. Okay. He publishes this, and then you find out that some doctor diagnoses him with a mental illness. You know, he was under a lot of stress from his divorce and his surgery. He's not doing very well. He's a very sick man, okay? He's a danger to himself or others. Maybe they can even fabricate something that he did. Whatever. They arrest him. They send him to a mental asylum. Now, if you watch his videos, you get a warning, and it's like, well, Steven Crowder was a very, deranged individual. So if you watch his videos, you may become deranged as well. Now, if you complain too much, oh, all of a sudden you're a danger to yourself and society as well. So now you're in a mental asylum. I guarantee to you, like, after several people get placed in mental asylums, no one talks about this. Like, everyone is like, okay, no, I understand. Yeah, try complaining about the behavior of an asylum from the inside. You don't get to see a lawyer. Like, that's the worst thing. And the only person that gets to treat you is your doctor. Like, you can't get a second-hand opinion. She actually teaches a class on journalism. It's wild. Who, Anna Kasparian? The question is, what is journalism? Right? Like, what is the purpose of journalism? Is it to inform the public or to make a profit? Because they're mutually exclusive, unironically. If you inform the public, it's not profitable. But if you work with the government and you're doing your best in order to spread the message and you're giving people shock content, it's like, oh, look what this police officer did. Oh, look at this crime right here. Oh, look at this, look at that. And you're trying to enrage the audience. That is profitable. That is profitable. Like, doing actual journalism is not profitable. Hello, Roman. So that is the question, like when Anna is teaching journalists, is she teaching them to become profitable or is she teaching them to inform the public? Like, here's another thing, right? You get all these think tanks. Like, think tanks have always existed, but almost every single politician that is worth his salt has some connection to a think tank. As well as, like, important businessmen and people that are interested in predicting the future. Why do they have think tanks? Because I actually happen to know someone that works at a think tank. And he told me about a conversation that he had with a client before he got hired. And the client goes, it's like, why do I need you for? I have Google. I got the internet. I have access to the news. Like, what can you do for me that other people cannot? And my friend who works at the think tank said that you are paying me to inform you. So it is my self-interest to inform you as best as possible so that I keep getting paid. If you go to the news, that is free, which means that someone else is paying them to send you a message. What interest does that person have? Is it your interest? No, because you're not paying them. They are being paid by someone else to send you the message. So that message may be for you to behave in a way that benefits the person that's paying them. And yeah, I mean, that is absolutely true. That's literally what the news is, right? Like, for example, when the Young Turks started becoming shit, it was the moment they accepted the $20 billion from Qatar. Before accepting the $20 billion from Qatar, the Young Turks was a very interesting, edgy, and funny show. Like, I remember they were talking, they had like this very beautiful girl on, I don't know the name, but she was like a presenter for a while. She had like the most magnificent smile. And she was talking with one of the people at the Young Turks about how the same substance found in a human vagina is the same substance you find in sharks. It was like things like this that weren't political, but they were entertaining, right? Like seeing this pretty girl, talking about sharks, and like she's got this bright smile and her titties are there. And it was like content that teenagers would watch. Like if I was 18, I would definitely watch the Young Turks. And it was segments about Cenk Uygur trying to guess whose camel toe is it. And they would have like various actresses, just a crotch shot with the camel toe. And Anna Kasparian would ask Cenk, and he would have to guess the actress by looking at the camel toe. Like that's how the Young Turks used to be. They used to have like this thing where someone would do something stupid, and then they would have to decide if that person is guilty or not in the court of public opinion. Like for example, they would talk about, okay, so this guy who's convicted of pedophilia on his way to the courthouse gets shot by the father. Do you blame the father, yes or no? Like that type of things is what they would analyze. And it was a very fun and engaging show. Yeah, they were actually fun. Like the Young Turks in the beginning, that's how they got their audience. They were legitimately fun. They weren't moralizing. They had disagreements. Like, for example, someone could say, no, it's not okay because we're sending a message that, the law isn't important, that that's not the law, that's vengeance, and blah, blah, blah. And someone else went like, yeah, I understand, but if it was my kid, I would have done the same. Like that was like the type of discussions and conversations that the Young Turks would have. And they were actually cool. But unfortunately, once they got the $20 million from Qatar, they start going more serious. They start becoming a lot more moralizing. And they start going downhill. They radicalize more and more and more and more, to the point where they're where we are now. And it becomes ridiculous because in the beginning, if they were asked, like, why do you have an Armenian working for a publication called the Young Turks? Well, they could have said something funny, then edgy. They would be like, well, it's hilarious. It's like a Jewish person working for something called the Hitler's Youth. Because it's literally that. Like the Young Turks and the Armenians, historically, I'm talking about the actual events. The Young Turks, I think, were like a political movement within the Ottoman Empire, which actually ended up passing things that ended with the genocide of the Armenians. So Anna is an Armenian, and the Young Turks has the name of that political party, right? Now, Cenk, obviously, I don't think he chose the name because he's an Armeniophobe, because otherwise he wouldn't hire Anna. So, like, he chose the name for different reasons. Probably didn't even know this context. And, like, when someone asked them, oh, people don't know? Tomcat, you don't know? Is this newsworthy? Like, look it up if you don't believe me. It's true. Like, Anna was actually having to defend herself working at the Young Turks and started speaking Armenian with someone from the crowd when she was pressured due to this, right? Because the thing is, why is it hypocritical for them? Like, why did they got themselves into this pickle? They got themselves into this pickle because they started judging other names. Like there were segments where Cenk Uygur was like, oh, the Redskins. Oh my God, the Redskins. Right? Like he would literally have like these segments where he would pick, oh, the name of this company. Oh, the name of that company. And then, like, someone went, oh, you want me to show? I'll show you, fine. Let me see if I can find it, because YouTube changes search algorithm. Maybe they took it down. But Anna Kasparian, there were several people that documented the Young Turks. But all of them got removed from YouTube. I think they got removed for different reasons, not because they were heckling the Young Turks, but like here you have it, right? So they're at this meeting, and I think like after this they actually decided to stop allowing people to just ask questions freely, in the sense that they would give you a little note and you had to ask your question on the note, and then they would read the notes from the audience, right? Like they stopped just giving people the microphone to avoid stuff like this. So let me see if I can raise the volume a little bit. But you can see the text, right? It says Ada without being filtered or censored.
Continue this dialogue and understand each other's positions. That's it. And another thing, Mom, stop. If you don't like, please get the hell out of here. Mom, okay, it's
what happened in 1952? You consider that genocide, yes or no? Yes or no?
Of course I do.
Right, so she is asked, like, what the Young Turks did to the Armenians, does she consider it genocide? And she tries to stop the question before, doesn't matter, and look at this.
If you're not going to listen to anything that you said and just keep repeating the same thing, she called it genocide, she said she believes it, and said that the show has nothing to do with it.
You think I deny genocide? I don't deny the genocide. I don't deny it. I don't deny it.
Right, but the problem isn't like whether or not she denies it. Like if you don't deny it, why are you working for an organization that's called the Young Turks? Like that's the right. Because like if you deny it, then you have like the justification by saying, well, I don't think it happened, so therefore like I have no problem working with a company that's called the Young Turks. But if you don't deny it, which she doesn't, then the question becomes like, why do you work for the Young Turks? When you go around, then you complain about other company names, because like you also have a way out. You can be, well, yeah, but like it happened before I was born, and I didn't know at the time about the history, so I now work with these people, and they're not genocidal in nature, so like blah, 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 blah. Right? Like you can manage to find a reasoning out of the situation, but when you close all of your doors, and you're like, well, I don't deny it, one door closed, okay, well, I don't like the fact that some brands have offensive names. You close another door, like you're boxing yourself in. So the only thing that you have is like cut to commercials. It is what it is. Hello, Dragonclaw. Welcome to the show. That's not the only time that Anna got into controversy for being hypocritical. Like the thing is, the more, because a lot of people go, it's like, well, why are there so many hypocrites? And the answer is like, most people don't care if you're hypocritical, or most people don't notice if you're hypocritical, provided that you don't moralize. So the moment you start moralizing, the moment you start, judging what others are doing and saying, oh, well, this is a bad person for doing such and such, people start looking at you and they're like, okay, well, if this guy is bad, I mean, I want a model in life. I'm going to take the moralist as my model. Oh shit, my model is really bad as well. Like, for example, Anna Kasparian had an interview, a segment, where she goes on and says how bad it is to fat shame people. Like, you must be the lowest of the low to fat shame others, right? And she had like this interesting, like 10 or 15 minutes, how long does a Young Turk segment last for? And she goes and she talks about it. Okay. Yeah, it's a classic clip, isn't it? And I think like it was in the context that she was shaming another person that got canceled for it. Like there was this guy, fat shames someone, loses their job, and the Young Turks talks about it, and it's like, yeah, like that's horrible. How can you fat shame someone? Oh, blah, 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 blah. And then Alex Jones comes up and it's like, get off the stage, you fat fuck, and it's like, Anna, what have we been discussing? Anna! like you are priming the public to view fat shaming as this worst thing imaginable. And by the way, like I'm fat as well. I understand why fat shaming happens, and I will tell you, it's not like necessarily a thing of kindness or compassion. It's basically like sometimes in some situations we want to offend other people. Like someone bangs into your car, right? Someone drives and runs into your car. You want to offend them at that point, right? And if you don't, that is not part of like the normal human reaction. Right? Like the normal human reaction is that if someone bumps into your car and doesn't apologize and starts giving you sass, the normal human reaction is to try to offend them. That is like just genuine, normal human emotions. Because we're not the Borg. Okay? We're not AI. We're not robots. We have feelings and emotions. Anger is part of those feelings. In some cases, it's justified. So like going to a random person, if I go to Archer Kibbs and I call them fat, that is uncalled for. And yet that is rude. But if Arch would, I don't know, like, take his keychain, go to my car and go like, in that situation, I should be like, get off the stage, you fat fuck, But like, the social justice activists of the time were believing that under no circumstance you should be offensive. Like, we need to remove offensiveness from society and leave, like, lobotomized individuals that do not have, like, any sort of emotions. We're like Vulcans. And obviously, like, no one can have that standard. Like, it's impossible. And the problem for Anna is that she's in front of the cameras way too much. So, like, when she did it, it was on camera. Did Arch watch the video? Of course he did. Everyone knows the video. It's a very popular video, actually. It was all over the internet at the time. But that was like the other thing that came up. Like when you say stuff on the internet, unlike when you say it on television, you can make the argument that at least on TV, many people cannot fact check you, right? Because like the way it used to work, you have the television saying falsities. I mean, okay, so you have the people in your house that can debunk it, but like if no one knows, for example, the Young Turks, right? So if the Young Turks say something like they go after the Redskins because of their name. Now maybe in your house no one knows what the Young Turks is, right? Like what that name means, because you can think it's like, okay, so Turks who are young, oh, it's the Young Turks. You don't necessarily know that they've been a political party in the past, which had some very damaging consequences to the Armenians within the Ottoman Empire, right? So you don't know that. Maybe someone in your house does, and they can tell you, or maybe someone at your workplace does. But like, most importantly, it's very difficult for debunking to happen. However, if you look at present day, you have the internet. So when you say something like that, people are like, it's necessary for like one person that makes it a viral post, and all of a sudden everyone knows. I like how every video on YouTube has like 15,000 likes right now. Nice job, V. I think that is a problem with the phone app, yes. Like I have seen it too, like videos that have like 5 views, they got 15,000 views, so it's kind of weird. They purged those showing emotion. They did, yes. And I mean, I don't know what to say. It's just, it was like such an anti-human ideology, right? Like, even the concept of hate speech. It's like, when they would go around and they would say, we need to make sure that there is no hatred. And I'm like, yeah, but like, hatred is a human emotion. Can you even separate it from the essence of humanity? Like, and if you can, are you going to try to separate greed next? I mean, greed is another human emotion that many people consider it to be not okay. Are you going to separate that? Okay, what else do we got? Jealousy. Can we separate jealousy, like jealous speech? Can we... I mean, you can, you know, use this logic on and on and on. But like, what is the question is like, you're trying to censor people to accomplish your goals, but I don't think your goals can even be accomplished, and all you're getting is like you're censoring people, so it's a power trip. And I noticed this without having like anyone from the academia tell me. I noticed this without it was just fucking common sense. I still think we can Tim Pool and Anna Kasparian. Anna Kasparian is actually more likely to debate people. I mean, she debated Ben Shapiro. She went to Adam and Stitch. I think she debated Thunderfoot at one point. The thing with Anna, and this is my genuine belief, I think that she is finally affected by the policies that the Young Turks were offering. So if you actually watch the Young Turks, at the start of this year, Anna was affected by green policies. So the fact that she can't get a gas stove and she needs to go on electric. The fact that she's got to buy an electric car and she's got to charge it and all this shit, it is pretty much like waking her up to the fact that, all right, well, this legislation, like the Green New Deal, isn't really good, isn't really working out. You know, the rising crime wave, like all of these things, like she's noticing that she's advocating for them rather than against them. Not directly, but like the policies that she's advocating for them are making things worse rather than better. But she's working at the Young Turks and she's a left-leaning person, so like how can she maintain her status and justify like the change in position? So I do think like she went on a couple of different podcasts, like she spoke with right-wingers and stuff, you know, in order to show that, look, if you fire me, I can still have a job, Like, I can go to the opposition if you find me. I think this is what happened, really. There were, like, several times where she argued with Cenk. Like, flat out arguing with Cenk. To the point where Cenk was afraid to talk against her. And there does seem to be some friction. Now, again, like, I can't tell what's in front and behind the cameras. Because I know many content creators, like, in front of the cameras, like me and Dev. Right? So me and Short Fat Otaku, in front of the cameras, we're arguing, we're screaming at each other. But, like, behind the cameras, we're friendly. There are other types of relationships where in front of the cameras, people are fine, and they're happy, and they're laughing. But behind the cameras, they hate each other. This happens a lot in the VTube community. So I really can't say the relationship between Anna and Cenk, but I do think that her changing her mind like this may be strenuous. I guarantee to you, like, Cenk himself is probably not as lefty as he lets out. And the thing is, like, when you build an audience, if you start to disagree with the principles that you set up with, it can be problematic. Like for example, for me, it happened. I don't agree with free speech the same way I used to. I do think that some people need censoring, especially the people advocating for censorship. Those are on top of the list. Like, if I see someone advocating for censorship, yes, I want them censored. I would even ally myself with other left-leaning individuals just to censor that guy because he wants other people censored. So, you know, like, I'm not just as a free speech absolutist as I used to be. Like, for example, yesterday, there was this guy. Comes into my Twitter DMs for my video game. And he starts saying that people who make pornography should be imprisoned. And I'm like, you know, like trying to understand. It's like, okay, so you want China, I guess. Like, that's what they do in China. That's fine, you know. But then he keeps on with the personal attacks and stuff. And someone says, but like, what about free speech? And it's like, well, everyone wants some censorship. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? You're right. You're absolutely right. Like I would actually ally myself with the progressives just to see you canceled at this point. Why? Because you're trying to take away my hobbies. And understand that you're the one that started this shit. I didn't come to you to start shit. You're coming to me to start shit. You're going out of your way to go on the internet and moral busybody left and right. Yes, I genuinely would like you to get censored. You're absolutely right. Everyone is for censorship. This is my line. When you start moral busybodying for stuff that doesn't affect you, don't like it, just walk away. Like, no one is forcing you to buy the product. No one is forcing you to talk about it. It's already a niche thing. So yeah, like everyone that doesn't believe in free speech should be censored. Unironically, that's my stance now. You don't believe in free speech? Get censored. It's the same way you can deal, like there are those people that, utilitarianists, I think they're called, right? Like they do not believe in any sort of morality. Like, if something is good for them, then it's fine. Maybe I'm getting the ideology wrong, but there's like this ideology where it's like, there is no like morality or whatever. So it's like, okay, well, if that's the case, if someone shoots you, you can't complain. Because like your way of thinking is that as long as it's good for you, then it's fine, even if it's bad for everyone else. Okay, well, then the person that you're making it bad for, using your ideology, can just, you know, shoot you and it's fine. Like, you can't complain. You don't have any moral reason to complain. But yeah, no, and by the way, like, I never censored anyone. I do not censor people. But at the same time, I don't have to defend them. Like if I see someone advocating for censorship getting censored, I'm not going to talk about it. It's like, talk to the people that like you. Unironically, right? Like, that's the thing. Like, when a VTuber that I liked by the name of Chika Fujilisa got demonetized, almost everyone joined ranks. Left-leaning, right-leaning people. Like, I did my best in order to try to get YouTube to notice so that they remonetize her. Because she was liked. She had a lot of friends. She had support. But if you're a leftist chucklehead, or even a right-wing chucklehead that goes around pissing people off, and you're like, oh, censorship good. Oh, I hope you get censored. When you get banned, who's going to speak for you? Well, I hope you have a lot of friends. I hope you have a lot of support. I'm not going to do shit. It's not my responsibility. Yeah, it's probably not utilitarianism. I probably I'm probably thinking of a different ideology. But still. Let's see, how much time do we have left, chat? Because I also have some videos to make for today. Haven't made them yesterday. Oh, we got 10 more minutes. Let's see if I can find an article that's interesting enough for 10 more minutes. Assassin's Creed leaked. They leaked names and stuff for the new pro. So, like, here's what's interesting. Since Assassin's Creed 3, I think, a lot of people wanted an Assassin's Creed in Japan. Like, this was something that people literally desired. It's like, please, for the love of God, give me Assassin's Creed in Japan. And the Ubisoft just didn't want to. I don't fucking know why. I mean, look at this. The architecture, right? Like, you got all this cool architecture where you can do parkour and stuff. It looks fucking amazing, right? Everyone wanted it. Nope. You're not going to get it. So they waited for like maybe a decade. And now we're finally getting an Assassin's Creed game. Black protagonist, motherfucker. Like, people just wanted authenticity. People just wanted a true Japanese story. And they're like, oh yeah, but this is actually an African man that was a samurai. And like, can you not just make a fucking Japanese story that's not niche? Like something, oh, but you're racist. I want a video game about Japanese people. How am I racist? I didn't like the video games where you made it in London. I didn't like it the one where you made it in America. I didn't like so now that I want something that's like literally non-white, and I just want like an authentic Japanese story. You're going to current day it, aren't you? You're going to current day. Okay, fine. Whatever. God, Ghost of Tsushima actually managed to make an authentic Japanese game, and it's sold. Like, this wasn't needed, is my point. Because I know why they do it. They're the Panderverse. You're going to Panderverse it. Yasuke, a playable character, would be a significant departure from the series, as it typically figures prominent history figures in supporting roles, making Assassin's Creed even more intriguing. Apparently, like some people that looked into it, he may not even have been a samurai. I tend to believe it because it's like being nobility, you know? It's not like a title you can just get. It's not like you do the paper and all of a sudden you become the thing. It's not like joining a company, right? And now you're part of Microsoft. Like, being a samurai meant that you needed to have like nobility, which like noble blood, basically. It's literally blood. And so even the people from that country don't get access to it. Like, a peasant couldn't become a noble unless it's like very fringe circumstance. And you're trying to say that your historical revisionism is now like, no, actually, this guy, like, I don't know. I genuinely like do not know his story, but like from what I understand, he was like a bodyguard, and that is believable, right? Like you can be a bodyguard to a noble, but like to actually be considered part of the nobility, no, I don't think you can. And again, like, it's not about race, although the race just makes it more jarring. It's kind of like a peasant becoming a noble. It's very rare, very fringe. Right? But now you're telling me that a peasant from even another land that has no ties to that land, come on. Really? So, apparently a recent leak point, who is ostensibly based in a real historical figure, very little has been revealed. But they adhere to specific historical periods. With Assassin's Creed Red taking the place in feudal Japan, a setting fans have been asking the cities to visit for years. But leaks and speculations have also led to the belief that the game will feature two different playable characters. One is the samurai and one is the shinobi. According to a recent from the Insider, game protagonist of Assassin's Creed could be Yasuke, an African man who found himself in the service of Oda, yes. But like, again, he is not a samurai. And I will tell you like why this matters, right? Because a lot of people go like, well, why do you care? Well, it's very simple to explain. The main attraction that I had towards Assassin's Creed was the fact that they had a team of historians that made absolutely sure that the historical stuff is as accurate as possible. So they would like look at history, what happened, and then they would make like small changes. Like, for example, you had the guy that died, right? And they would be like, well, what if he didn't die that way? What if he was assassinated? Right? And in the game, you assassinate him. Like, that was, like, the idea. But, like, everything else, like, the culture of the people around them, the historical figures, they tried to make them as accurate to the actual historical people as possible. Alright. So where's the issue? Well, the issue is that now that's not the case. Ever since Assassin's Creed 3, they do not care about the team of historians anymore. They're just making shit up. Like, for example, in Assassin's Creed London, there was this character which, according to history, she was a woman, but she wanted to inherit, I think, like her father's business, something along those lines. So she had to pretend to be a man. But she was pretending to be a man, not because, like, she believed she was a man. She was just doing it because it was culturally advantageous. Like, people would take her more seriously. No one, would bat an eyelid. So that's why she pretended to be a man. But in Assassin's Creed London, they made her transgender. And I'm like, okay, but like, you're literally doing this for the Panderverse. Like, we know what you're doing. It's so fucking obvious. Can you please stop? Before, I could play Assassin's Creed games in order for me to get interested in history and learn more about history. But once they drop that pretense altogether, that's why I care. That's why it annoys me. Because I legitimately want to play some historical games. I remember Kingdom Come Deliverance was the last good game that I played where you actually do learn shit from history. Obviously, it's still a video game, right? Obviously, there's a lot of stuff that's not historical, but like, it gets you interested enough. If I have a kid and I get him to play Rome Total War 1, and you read all that lore and shit, it makes you immersed. It makes you involved into learning more about the Roman Empire. And yes, I do think about the Roman Empire ever since they fucked Rome Total War 2. Conspiracy Cat, thank you for the $20. I really appreciate it. Moral principles are there to protect both sides. If one side does not respect the principle, there is no reason for the other side to do it. The perfect historical example of this, and I use this to blow the mind of normies, because it's true, especially with the conflict with Israel and Gaza. Throughout European warfare, you had the concept of fighting honorably, if you will, like fighting like gentlemen, and fighting like gentlemen meant not targeting officers, and this was like, obviously, in a society where you have the peasantry and the nobility, it makes sense because like most officers were nobles, but like from a practical sense, it makes absolutely no logic. But still, like the nobility were the ones that were setting the rules, and the rules were like, okay, you don't shoot us, we don't shoot you, right? We do not kill nobles. Alright. Enters the American Revolution, the first one. The first American Civil War, right? The first European Civil War. The War of Independence, as you guys call it. In the War of Independence, the Americans, and I do not know if they did it on purpose, or if they actually did it because it was convenient. But now you have the possibility of having firearms that can shoot long distance with incredibly high accuracy. So they would literally target officers. It was very fucking effective, right? Like the officers would be dressed in usually like bright colors, like you know who the officer is, because like they were trying to show like, this is an officer, do not shoot them. They made it like, fuck that shit, no, we're going to shoot them. So by breaking the agreements of war, I mean, it wasn't like a written agreement, right? But by breaking the code of conduct, now the British could do to the Americans literally whatever the fuck they wanted. Right? Like cause you give away your rights of expecting the same, right? Because the British wouldn't shoot the American officers either. They would be like, okay, this is the code of conduct. This is how we behave, right? We do not do these things. We do not those things. And in exchange, you guys don't do it either. But the moment they violated that, they're like, okay, well, fuck you. Then oh, you're doing what's convenient for us to win? Okay, well, we're going to do what's convenient for us as well. It's the same thing with what's happening now with Israel and Palestine, right? Like, you got Hamas coming out, and they're, like, killing the elderly, and they're attacking civilians, and they're posting their atrocities online, because that's, like, the thing that no one talks about. Like, they literally posted their own atrocities online. And now, like, you're being shocked that Israel isn't using gloves when handling the situation. It's like, well, it's literally like, this is an unwritten rule that doesn't apply to that region. It applies to the whole continent, to the whole world. Like, throughout history, it was like this. There are certain rules that are there in order to be enforced against people who agree them. But the moment you stop agreeing with them, well, the other side is justified as well. Another example, actually, it was in World War II, like that, there were a lot of agreements that weren't set, but like soldiers kind of knew them. Like, for example, if you modified your knife in order to make it more painful to the person getting stabbed. So, like, for instance, you would add, like, some razor wire around the knife, or whatever. I think it was, like, the edge. Like, you'd serrate the edge to make it look like teeth, right? And you do stuff in order to make it more painful for the person getting stabbed. If you are caught with that by the enemy, Jesus fucking Christ. Right? So, like, normally the enemy would take you prisoner. But if they found out that you were modifying your gear or doing certain things that, like snipers as well. Like, snipers were really hated. Like, most snipers made sure not to keep medals. The Germans would give, like, snipers a specific medal for kills. They would never wear it. Because if they were caught by the enemy... Oh. There's a story where the Russians pushed a sniper rifle up the ass of a German soldier using a tank. So... I haven't given you a haircut body in a while. Get a haircut before you become a hippie. I should, actually. Anyway, right. I'll probably end it here. Yeah, with shotguns they did it as well. They called it a trench gun. I'll end the video here. Gonna upload the videos on my main channel. Thank you guys so much for watching. And I'll see you later. Take care.